Hey guys, we are here at one of our Sears lots here in Denison, Texas. We are about 2 blocks off of Main Street. You can see the lot behind me, the old Victorian house, and then you can see our 3 Myrick homes over there that are Airbnb houses. This is a package deal I told you guys about before. I think we ended up getting all 5 lots, including the house. I think we paid like 100, and then we've since 100,000. And then we've since built the 3 Airbnb units. Now we still own the 2 lots, and I've sold this house behind me. And that is what our story is going to be about today. That one time I almost went to jail, probably the closest I've ever been to going to jail. I've never been to jail, but this is the closest time that put me really close to being in jail. It sounds kind of silly. I guess at the end of the day, like there's one main part of this story that was truly my fault, and I dropped the ball. But as I tell this story, I want you guys to know that for what the crime was, there really should have never been a situation to where I was even remotely like going to jail being an option. That should have never even been the case. And I guess it is a Texas state law that we'll talk about here in a little bit, but pretty much came down to a code ordinance thing. So let's get into it. And you guys, I'm sure there's gonna be some people that say I'm stupid for messing up the one thing I messed up. So you guys leave some comments down below, but let me know what you think about the rest of the story and how we got to that point to where there was even a warrant out for my arrest because of a house that I owned. So yeah, you guys come along with us today. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm a real estate investor. My name's Justin Briscoe. I'm here in Denison, Texas. We invest in real estate. We have single residentials, we have Airbnbs, we've had a few multifamilies, we have some commercial property. We're kind of in the selling mode here in 2021. You guys come on along today and you let me know what you think. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. This is why I almost went to jail.
Make me work, make me sweat inside, make me feel like I'm alive. Take this hurt, lady, throw it in my face. Don't let these bones slow you down. 'Cause I'm coming on strong, the grass should have looked greener. I need a true believer in disguise.
As you can tell, this house behind me, it's a beautiful old Victorian home. I think it was built like in 1892. It may look kind of rough from the outside based off of it needing paint, but inside, I mean, it's structurally sound. It's a beautiful home. It's got like 10-foot solid wood doors. I mean, it's got 12-inch base molding. It's got the original hardwood floors. I mean, it's a beautiful home. And now someone else owns it, and I think they're in the process of remodeling it, and I think they're gonna do an amazing job with it. And before we bought it, there was a family that had lived in there for years. I don't know, I'm gonna say 10 years. I don't know how long they lived there, but they had been there for a while. But that individual came to me, and he had a contract to sell the house and the 5 lots that came with it that went sideways. And a person that I knew at church referred me to him, and he called me saying, "Hey, I heard that you buy houses. Would you like to buy my house?" And I said, "Yeah, let's take a look at it." So I looked at it and went inside the house. He told me it comes with the lots. There is a lot of work that's needed, but it's just a beautiful old house. I mean, it's got amazing character. It's probably one of the first large Victorian homes that were built here in Denison. I know the historian buffs out there will probably correct me. I know there's other houses that were built in Denison before that, but this one, and I think it's got 2 other sister houses that are similar. I think the same builder that were kind of built within the same time frame, probably within the same 5 to 10 year period in the late 1800s. But just a beautiful old house. So negotiated it, came to the agreement of 100,000. So we closed on it, got it cleaned up, did a few things to it, make sure all the plumbing, electric, everything worked. It was move-in ready. Even though it is in need of some cosmetic repairs, it was a livable home. This family, I think they had a few children and lived in here for years. So it was one of those real estate deals to where we do a lipstick remodel and get some tenants in there. And it was a good functioning home. All the bathrooms worked, the kitchen worked. I mean, everything worked. It was a good rental. And we ended up renting it for like $1,800 because it's such a large house. I mean, I think it's like 4,000, almost pushing 5,000 square foot. So it was a great rental for us. I mean, it made sense. We kept the lots and it's cash flowed well. Well, those tenants moved out after about 8 or 9 months. And once they moved out, they left a little bit of trash on the curb. And the city sent me a letter, and it was like a $100 fine, like, hey, here's the fine because you've got trash out. Or they were gonna fine me if I didn't pick up the trash. So it was my tenant's trash. And I said, hey, let's let the tenants pick it up. I'm like, no, you're responsible for it. So I went and picked it up. Well, a few more weeks passed, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with the house. We were kind of in the process, like, hey, do we fix it up? Do we move into it? Do we make it our primary residence? Do we sell it as is? Do we do a complete remodel, which is what we really thought. I mean, we were gonna go in and do a complete remodel. And back then, I mean, you look at, let's say you looked at $50 a square foot, at 5,000 square foot. I mean, that's 250 grand at the time to put into this house. And my cost basis at that point was 100. So, I mean, I was gonna have 200, no, I'm sorry. I was gonna have 300, almost 350 grand in the house. And so for me, at the time, having $350,000 in this house for what houses were selling for, I mean, there's really no large Victorian homes in this area in downtown Denison that were selling for north of 300 that I know of. I mean, there may have been a few, but it's not where the market was at the time. And we're talking 2018-ish, probably. And so we kind of sat on it for a few months after those tenants moved out. Well, I ended up getting a letter from the city of Denison, and this had happened quite a bit up to this point in time. And the letter pretty much says, like, hey, listen, your house is in need of repairs. You need to paint the exterior and do some stuff on the outside, and we're giving you 30 days to do this. If you don't do this within 30 days, we're gonna send you a fine. And I get those letters all the time, and normally I get the fine, whether it's for not mowing a yard or whatever. I truly try to mow my yards. That's a completely other episode, as you guys saw my Facebook rant last year on that. But similar situation, you don't mow your yard, they're gonna come mow it and they're gonna give you a fine. And that's what had happened on this. So before that 30 days was up, I said, you know what, screw it. I can't put all this money into it right now and sell the house. I can't really do what they want me to do. They wanted me to paint the house, but for me to paint the house, that was gonna introduce me to a complete house remodel. And for a lot of you guys, that may not make sense, which is fine, but the way we normally do a house is when we go into it, like we almost take it down to the studs if it's needed. If it's got like shiplap and stuff, we'll leave the shiplap on the walls, but we dang near take it down to the studs. And when we do that, we end up normally putting all new windows on it. We'll insulate it, spray foam. We'll put some new sheeting on it. We'll do new siding. We'll do all that stuff and make it a beautiful home. And that was gonna be part of the 250-ish remodel. I'm ballparking, $50 a square foot. And for what they wanted me to do right that second is they wanted me to paint the house. And I did get a few bids. There's some siding repairs that needed to be done, and I gotten some paint quotes, and it was pretty much, I mean, it was gonna be north of 35,000. I mean, I was getting anywhere from 35,000 to 50,000, and that was to do it the right way. Well, I didn't wanna do that to the house at that point in time, because whatever I did then, I would end up having to reverse in the future. For me, the way I do remodels, the way I do real estate, it financially did not make sense. I could paint the house now, spend the $35, $50, and then have to reverse that in the future, or just go ahead and list the house on the market and just cash out for whatever my market appreciation was for that 1 year period. Well, I ended up listing the house for sale. No more than probably a week or two later, I get a letter in the mail from the city of Denison saying, hey, you've not painted the house, and so we're gonna fine you. So I got the fine. I forgot what it was. 125, 175, whatever the fine is. It's a fine for breaking the ordinance, not painting the house because they gave me my 30-day notice. Well, I was a little frustrated because that 30-day period was kind of an ultimatum period. Like, hey, do I paint the house if I'm not financially capable? Which, I mean, yeah, I wasn't really financially capable to put $250,000 into a home. I made the decision to go ahead and list it. And at that point in time, normally, what I've seen in other circumstances, the city will back off a little bit. Like, okay, he's financially not capable of painting this house. Let's pump the brakes a little bit and not fine him. And just so you know, I get those letters quite a bit because we own a lot of older homes, and if they drive by and they see it needs to be painted, hey, we'll get a letter like, hey, fix this. And we fix those things. If it's a current rental and it's not just like a huge 5,000 square foot paint job, we normally do those things in a timely manner. But you have to understand, the way you see this house right now, it's 2021. This house looked like this back in 2005. This house hasn't changed. It's looked like this for the last 10, 15 years, but Mr. Briscoe purchased the home, and suddenly the city of Denison decides that it's a problem house and that it needs to be fixed. And I called them out on that, and I said, that's quite a coincidence, huh? And of course, they said, we're not targeting you, which I don't believe they're targeting me. It's just funny that this house has looked like this for 10, 15 years, and we'll go by and look at some other houses within like a 3-4 block radius, and I guarantee you they look just like this, if not worse, and they've not received any letters or fines or citations. And so it just seemed weird to me that this house has been sitting here for 15 years. Within 6 to 9 months of me owning it, I get a letter saying like, hey, you need to bring this back up to code. I don't believe they sent the fine like they normally do. I think they jumped straight to a citation. And it was like $125, $175 fine. Just like my mowing liens, all those other things, I just thought, okay, hey, I'll wait till the thing's for sale. Once we close, they'll put a lien against it for $125. I'll pay it at closing. No big deal. Well, that's where I was wrong. And the whole moral of the story, this is where I was incorrect. In this point in case, it was a citation, an actual like a ticket. I'm getting a ticket for not painting my house. Now, I'm not used to getting tickets from the city for not painting my house. And so this was all new to me. And so instead of me going to court and paying it, I just thought I'm gonna let the house close. The citation is going to go against the property as a lien. So at closing, I'll just pay that $125, $175, whatever it is. I keep saying $125, $175. It's in that range. It's over $100, but it's under $200. I don't remember the exact dollar amount. Because I didn't pay that citation, they put a warrant out for my arrest. I didn't know there was a warrant out for my arrest at the time, but we just hired a new city marshal that summer, and the city marshal got this list of all the warrants that were out in the city of Denison. There's probably a couple of $1 million. Maybe it was $1 million, but it's quite a bit of money that was out for warrants. Within his first week of being here, he calls me. It says, hey, Mr. Briscoe, this is so-and-so, city marshal, city of Denison. Looks like there was a warrant out for your arrest because of a code ordinance citation you received. I was like, yeah, I know. I didn't, wait, there's a warrant for my arrest? Like I knew there was a fine, I didn't paint my house, but now there's a warrant? And he's like, yeah, it looks like it was issued a few weeks back. So if you get pulled over, just know that you're probably gonna get taken to jail until you take care of this. How do I get to a point where I can get a ticket for not painting my house, first of all? Second of all, yes, I didn't go to court for this stupid citation for not painting my house, but now there's a warrant out for my arrest, and if I get pulled over, I'm gonna go to jail. Like, this is just like, it just blew my mind. Like, I didn't know how we got to this point. For a house that's looked like this for 15 years, and I get 30 days to get it painted, and if not, they're gonna send me a citation. And within that 30 days, I went ahead and listed the house because that was the best case scenario for me. List the house, sell it, and be done with it. And the funny thing is, it sounds like there was actually 2 warrants out for my arrest. What had happened was we'd gotten a fine on this house, but then my business partner, Josh Hawley, and I own another house down the street, same situation, and he went in and paid through our LLC and actually paid for the citation. Well, there ended up being 2 warrants out for my arrest, one for this house and one for that house. What they did on that other house is because there was 2 owners within that LLC, they sent Mr. Hawley a letter, a citation, and they sent me. So Mr. Hawley went in and paid his citation, but mine didn't get paid. And we both were not under the impression. We just thought the citation, the fine, needed to be paid for by the LLC. And so that's what he did. And so I called them. I was like, well, what if we had 10 people within that LLC? And they're like, yeah, I mean, each person would have got a citation. I'm like, that shouldn't be how it worked. There should be like 1 fine or 1 citation for the property, not 1 for every single owner, right? And so that threw me off a little bit. So I go into the courthouse and they said, okay, Mr. Briscoe, you owe us, it ended up being like almost $5,000 because the original citation and then there was like a $2,400 penalty for not showing up for court. So it ended up being just a little shy of $5,000. So I flipped my lid. I'm like, what in the world? How did we get to this point? So I get an attorney and they're like, yeah, I mean, you didn't go to court. And so, I mean, yeah, you got to pay the penalty for that. And I was like, I get it. I mean, that's my fault. But what was crazy, I was speaking to the city marshal and he had came from the city of Capel here in Texas. And he's like, yeah, I think they're max fining you. I mean, I think in the state of Texas, the max fine's like $2,400. But I've never seen this happen before. Like, this is way, way more than any other city I've seen done. At the end of the day, yeah, it's my fault. I should have gone to court. I should have paid the stinking citation. I get it. But where I have an issue is, how can this house sit here for 15 years, looking the way it looks, but Mr. Briscoe buys it and they get all over my case with getting it painted when there's still, like I said, we're fixing to go down the neighborhood right now. I'm gonna show you 4 or 5 houses that look just like this, still haven't done anything with. And if you notice, there's still nothing done to this house. We'll talk about here in a second. And so that's where I got frustrated, is that this house had looked like this for all these years, and as soon as I take ownership of it, they get all over my case to get it fixed. And then you said there was complaints by the neighbors, which I don't deny, but has there not been complaints for the last 15 years, or has there not been complaints on it for the last 2 years? To me, it just blows my mind that a citation can be issued, and if that citation's not taken care of, that you can literally have a warrant out for your arrest and you can go to jail for not painting a house. Again, I own up to not going to court, not paying the citation, but to me that's silly that it could even come to that in the first place. I am a little frustrated, but that's why I want to make today's video, because this is the closest I've ever been to going to jail. The city marshal had called me. When he called me, it was funny because he told me like how many warrants were out in the city of Denison. I was at the top of his list to call because we have all these drug dealers and all these other criminals and thieves and all these other things. And I'm not saying he didn't call them, but in the first week that he's here, I'm one of his first phone calls because I can't afford to not pay the fine. Like, I have no other choice. Like, I have to pay the fine because I run a business. I mean, we have a good reputation here in town. Like, we just don't go around like not paying our responsibilities. And so, plus, if I don't pay it and I get pulled over, I go to jail. I mean, yeah, maybe I get out the next day, but then that's just a whole nother mess. I got a business to run. Like, it's not worth it to not pay the fine. So, moral of the story is, if you live in the city of Denison, you don't paint your house and they send you a citation, first of all, go pay the citation. If you don't pay the citation, just know there's gonna be a warrant out for your arrest, and if you get pulled over, you're going to get arrested. Oh, plus, they allow for your driver's license to not be renewed. And so if you try to go to the DPS and renew your driver's license, I guess anyone that has a warrant out for your arrest, if you have a warrant out for your arrest, you can't go renew your driver's license. I didn't know that until all this went down. Any of you guys out there, if you're a real estate owner and you get a fine or if you get a citation, please take care of it, because it can really escalate very quickly. And so again, out of principle, I don't pay my fines immediately. The fines go against the property, and I'm like, okay, the city's gonna get their fines whenever I sell the property, and they always do. We've sold most of our properties, no telling how many hundreds and thousands of dollars the city's collected from us through these fines. And I mean, as a taxpayer and as a real estate owner, that's part of it. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. It's part of doing business. If I don't mow my yard in a timely manner and the city has to come do it for you, that's part of it. I'm not the only person to complain about this. I know this has happened to other people. I got another investor buddy, I'm not gonna mention his name, but he does the exact same thing as me, and it happened to him too. He received the citation, and I don't think he'd ever received a citation in the 10-15 years he's done this, and he thought it was a lien. Like, he just thought it was like a normal mowing lien, so he didn't think anything about it, and he didn't pay it. And he ended up getting a warrant out for his arrest, and he had to go to court, and I think he ended up having to pay like the full $2,500. It's just crazy. You can literally go to jail by not painting a house. I don't get it, other than the fact I didn't show up for court. I get that part. I've since sold this house and it still looks like this. And I'm not hating on the owners now. I mean, if I were them and the city was gonna let me get away with it, yeah, I wouldn't paint it. I'd cash flow it until I was ready to do my $250,000, $300,000 remodel. I mean, I would get away as long as it's not doing permanent damage to the house, which it's not. I mean, there's siding that needs to be repaired, but it's not making permanent damage to it. But yeah, let's drive around real quick. Let's try to go look for some. I'm gonna show y'all some other houses on this street. I can show you probably 4 or 5 houses that look just like this, that I guarantee you those people didn't get a fine or a citation sent to them. So let's go look at them. From when I was a little kid, I remember looking at this house and thinking, man, what such a cool house, but why don't they paint it? And the story that I always remember hearing growing up is he didn't want to paint it because he didn't want to pay more money on his property taxes, which I commend the guy. That's smart. If you can live with your house looking like that to pay cheaper taxes, hey, I'm not against that. And maybe the guy's gotten letters. He's gotten fines. He's gotten citations. I'm not sure. I'm sure that's public knowledge that we can look up, but I'm not sure if that's happened to him. But this house looked the way it did back then when I was getting letters and citations a few years ago in my place. What I'm gonna do, I want to show you all that house because it was so close to this one down here. It's on Sears Street. It's a couple of blocks down, but just to give you a reference point, this was about 2 years ago. And I was so mad that I said, okay, if I'm getting a citation, you're making a point out of me. What about every single one of these houses? And so I made an effort, and I literally went down just the Sears Street, all the way to whatever it goes to, 1,500, 1,600, however far down it goes. And I went like all the way east. I mean, it's probably 3 miles worth of street. And I took a picture of probably 30, 40 houses that either looked similar to mine or worse than mine. With me in the city, it's kind of weird. Like it's a bittersweet situation. We both help each other out. I've done a lot of cool things for the city. The city's done a lot of cool things. I love the city of Denison. It's where I grew up. We've done a lot of neat stuff here. We have great management in place. I don't want to seem like I'm just always hating on the city, but there's been certain things that have happened to me and to other investors in the past that just doesn't set well with this. I mean, we're a taxpayer just like anyone else. We're not asking for an exception. We're not asking like, hey, my name's Mr. Justin Briscoe. I need to be held at a different standard. Like, that's not what I'm asking for. I want to be held at the same standard as everyone else. And when there's 30 other homes out that look like this and you're picking on me, I mean, if we're doing that, let's just make sure we're picking on everyone else. I can't say this enough. I think it's funny that you potentially can be thrown in jail for not painting a house. I'll end with that. I mean, look at this house. That's not bad, but I mean, it's not great. That's actually an old house we owned. We owned that household, I think about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I owned this house right here too at one point in time. It's 417 West Sears. It was a cute little 2-1, had a garage apartment. It's a 5-plex. It's got four units up front, so a quadplex with a unit in the back. That house right there, I mean, that was a $7,000 house when I bought it. So just imagine what it looked like when I paid $7,000 for it. I mean, it needed a ton of work. This house, like, the roof was caving in on it. And so, I mean, we've done a lot of cool stuff in the city of Denison. Maybe it's not always been like on their, like at the level of quickness that they would like. When you're in this real estate business, I've said it before, there's times that we're cash poor. We got a lot of assets, but we're cash poor. I can't just drop 50 grand into a house like that and paint it when that's potentially going to be all for naught in the future when I do a $250,000 remodel. And some of you guys may disagree with me, like, hey, if you put $50,000 paint job, that's $50,000 less you have to do. Well, to do the remodel we want to do and to do it the way we want to, like, take it down to the studs and do it right, and in my opinion, what I believe is right, it would have been a wasted paint job. What I was going to say earlier, I didn't give you the exact details of literally how I almost spent a night in jail. You guys have gotten the backstory. You understood how I got to that point. Well, when the city marshal had called me the first time and let me know that I had warrants out for my arrest, I then kind of went into freak out mode and went to the courthouse to try to pay it. And then I realized it was like $5,000 because I was paying for the original fine. And then the city of Denison was max fining me. Like I said, the city marshal had said he had never, I'm not saying cities don't max fine individuals for this. It's just, he said that the most the city can charge is this much, and I've never seen a city do that, and the city of Denison's like max fining you at that, whatever it is, $2,400, whatever that dollar amount is. He thought that was a little weird. He didn't make the rules, he just serviced the warrants, but he thought that was weird that they would max fine me. And so once I found that out, when I'd gone to the courthouse to try to pay it and saw it was that much, I then kind of got in freak out mode, and I was driving around dirty. Like, I was driving around with the warrant out for my arrest, but I had hired an attorney, and I was having the attorney take a look at it and see what we could do. And because I didn't go to my court date, I was at fault, and that's why the fine was in place. But during that time frame, there's probably about a 2-week period after I had known, because the warrant had already been out for my arrest for probably weeks, if not months, and I didn't know. But once he made me aware of it, I had hired the attorney and probably went about 2 weeks with this warrant, trying to figure out what my options were, what I could do. And about 2 weeks after he called me, it was, I think, a Monday morning. And I'd already left the house for the day, gone to work, checking on job sites. And the marshal comes and knocks on my door at my house, my primary residence. I got my wife, 3 kids, and they say, is Mr. Briscoe here? There's a warrant out for his arrest, and we need to speak to him. And of course my wife's freaking out. My wife knew about it, but like my kids are sitting there, like at the time, probably, I don't know how old they were, probably 6, 3, and just a newborn. And the 2 older boys were just freaking out, like, why is daddy going to jail? Like, we don't get this. And so that's where I get frustrated with this whole situation, that you can go from not painting a house to potentially going to jail. And then that's why he was there. I mean, he was servicing the warrant. I mean, they knew where I lived. He'd given me my 2 weeks to figure it out, and I'm still working on it. But luckily, I wasn't there at the time. And so at that point in time, like, I got with the attorney, like, hey, we got to figure this out today. And so we ended up figuring out, set a court date. And then I think it made the the warrant disappear for a second since we had a court date set up, and that was the route we were going to go. I'd already exhausted everyone within the city, having all my conversations. At that point, there was just nothing no one could do, unfortunately. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Again, I'm in wrong for not going to court, but for not painting a house, you can literally have a city marshal knock on your door, servicing a warrant to take you to jail. So you guys let me know what you think. I would love for you guys, if you're enjoying this content, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and if you have any questions or anything, just leave some comments down below. Until next time. Peace.
There's dirt on my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They've been gone a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.